Evidence in science, in research, and evidence in human testimony, evidence is the loudest voice. And I think that's what changes consciousness. I think that's what changes a collective consciousness. So there is a field of intelligence that exists beyond our senses that we're unaware of. And that unifying field of energy, it makes up more of the universe than the physical universe you and I are living in. And so then can you teach a person to get beyond their senses, to get beyond their body, to get beyond all the people and objects and things and places in their environment, to stop trying to predict the future and stop emotionally revisiting the past and labor for the present moment and become pure consciousness. If you can teach people the right information and then set up the conditions in the environment for them to experience it, the first couple of days will be choppy because it takes an enormous amount for David to face Goliath. And you got to get right up against every one of those thoughts. There are the thoughts that are always slipping by people's awareness, that talk them out of possibility. And I think when people do that, they get in the habit of stopping to believe in themselves. They get in the habit of quitting. They get in the habit of absolving their effort and using some excuse to do that. 7-day immersion, where you go all in. You start early in the morning, you go late at night. It's information transformation. It's information transformation. We build information transformation. Stand as it, walk as it, sit as it, lie down as it, become it. Right? So the overcoming process we've discovered is the becoming process. And that 95% that's unconscious, you have to face off with and you got to finish it. So the thought doesn't slip by your awareness unnoticed by you when you return back into your life, or your emotional response to the same person or same circumstance causes you to no longer see the vision of your future because you're feeling the emotions of your past. You'll believe in your past more than you'll believe in your future, right? And so when we started doing all these case history studies and really looking at people's stories, it was so obvious that they were doing exactly what the people that had their spontaneous remissions were doing. They weren't doing their meditations to heal. That's not why they were doing them. They were doing their meditations to change.
Right.
And they were surrendering any aspect of their limited self to join the greater self, to lose the sense of self, separation to nothing. And that nothing turns out to be rich in something, and energy and frequency carries information. And so interacting with that energy and frequency with coherence in your nervous system begins to be translated into our biology as a reflection of wholeness. And we see it across the board over and over again. So when a person then becomes nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, no time, and they're in that void, in that vacuum, in that nothing, if you teach them to pay more attention to it and put more awareness on it and feel their connection to it, not only is their nervous system going to get highly organized and highly entrained, but when they connect to it and that little radio receiver at the top of the limbic brain, the pineal gland, that little radio receiver starts to transduce information into chemistry in the brain, that's when the person has that full-on sensory experience beyond their senses, and now they're in that 5D reality. And in 5D, it's all energy, it's all frequency, it's all connected, there's no separation. It's all consciousness, it's all vibration. There's nowhere to go, you're everywhere all at once. There's no separation because there's nothing to be separated from. So training people over time with information to understand that when they get to the field, if they're going to create from the field instead of from matter, like if you're creating from matter to matter, it's just going to take you a long time.
Right.
But the idea then with brain and heart coherence, brain coherence, clear intention, electrical charge in the quantum field, send the signal out. We talked about this last time. Elevated emotion, heart emotion, magnetic field, coherent heart, that's what draws the experience to you, right? If you create from the field instead of from matter, and it's not matter that's creating the field, it's the field that's creating matter, get as close to source as you can, get it close to singularity, to that 0-point field, oneness, wholeness, whatever you want to call that, and there's less separation between your consciousness and the consciousness of pure consciousness. If there's less separation between 2 points of consciousness, there's less time. You create from the field instead of from matter, you could actually shorten the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of having it. And the cool part about it is when you get your nervous system tuned and there's a vibrational match and you're creating from source, why would you go anywhere to get it? If you were source, you wouldn't go anywhere to get it. You would draw it to you. And you collapse time and space. And when you do that, then the synchronicities, the serendipities, the coincidences, the opportunities start to prove to you that you're actually the creator of your life instead of the victim of your life. And so then people do the work, not because they have to. They do the work because they don't want the magic to end. I mean, every time I go into nothing, I go into nothing with the understanding that it's not nothing. I saw the data. The scientists do meditation. I ask them, why do you do meditation? They say, because it's medicine. This is medicine. Like, yes. I do the work because I'm the grad student running the trial here. I saw what it did. I'm doing it with the intention of changing my biology.
It's not that difficult, really, to step out of the stream of thinking. One way, of course, is meditation. The traditional approach is you have certain periods of time, once or twice a day, when you sit down, close your eyes, and instead of involuntarily being drawn into the continuous stream of thinking, with meditation, you have a technique or method. You focus your attention on one thing, which could be a mantra that you repeat. It could be your breathing. It's a very ancient meditation. It could be the inner feeling in your body, the sense of aliveness that pervades your body. In other words, you take attention away from thinking, and that's already a great realization that you actually have a choice of directing attention. You don't have to go with your attention all the time where the habitual thought patterns want you to go. The habitual thought patterns want your attention every time. Every thought says, I matter, give me your attention, follow me, they go this way. And another negative thought, and another one, and another one.
All the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. We're the only creature that's totally disoriented in our environment. And that's because we've been given the faculties to create our own environment.
Right.
But we've never been taught how to use them. Now, we teach that in our company. We teach how to develop your perception, the will. You change your perception, you change your life.
Yeah.
You know, and the will. When John Kennedy asked Dr. Werner von Braun what it would take to build a rocket that would carry a person to the moon, bring him back safely to Earth, von Braun said, he answered him in 5 words. He said, the will to do it. Now, many people would hear that and don't really understand what he said. The ability to hold that picture on the screen of your mind and nothing else, because the will is what gives you the ability to concentrate. Energy flows to and through you. Through concentration, you increase the amplitude of vibration when the energy leaves you. That's how absentee healing's done, through the will. You know, a practitioner will hold the idea, and they'll have the subject relax, be very quiet. They transfer that thought right into the person's subjective mind, and so it affects the body.
Yeah.
Well, the will is very important. So we've got to understand these things, you know. Intuition. I can walk by a person and, like, I could tell, as soon as I walk in the room, I know exactly what you're like. You operate, you probably studied this, but you operate from almost evenly between the right and left hemisphere of your brain. You've got an interesting mix in your personality.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but
sure.
You know, I could feel that. You're almost an even balance between the two. And, you know, as I say that, I'm trying to figure out more one than the other, and I don't think you are. Well, your intuition will do that. Because your intuition is a mental faculty that picks up vibration and translates it in your mind. It's through intuition that you get answers to your questions. Like you asked a question, the opposite side of question is an answer. It's the equal and opposite side. So our answer comes with our question, but we're not tuned in to pick it up, you know. Like every question is an answer. Well, the imagination, of course, it's everything.
Yeah.
So you get these higher faculties and you get using them, and I started to learn how to use these. And I started to see that we've got so much going for us that we never hear about. School doesn't teach us. Our parents don't teach us. You go to work for a company, they don't teach you. So the odds of learning it are really slim, you know. And it's the reason there's so few people that really are successful in life. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of material around on success. My goodness, there's more around today than there's ever been.
Yeah.
Self-help books are, you know, top of the bestsellers list.
They're crushing, yeah.
You know, in 1968, when I first started to study this, you had Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. It was a few books, you know, Think and Grow Rich, but there weren't that many. Today, there's thousands of them.
Yeah, people need it because they don't know how to use the tools that we have.
But they don't know how to use the information that's in the book.
Because I believe that we're worth preserving. There is something, and we can get into this deeper, there's something so precious and sacred about our humanness that has never been given to any other form of life that we know of today. Now, there are many forms of life, I'm sure, throughout the cosmos, and maybe it happens somewhere else. But to the best of my knowledge, we're it, and we're all we've got. And if we lose ourselves, if we lose our humanness, we'll never get it back. And the cosmos will never know what it means for us to be fully human on this beautiful planet, this beautiful world we live in. And those that want to steal our humanness have a very different objective and very different ideas. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this is happening in our lives right now, not to be afraid of it by any means, but to be aware and to celebrate our humanness and be aware when policies or people are asking that we allow them to lead us in our lives. Elected officials, what do they stand for? And look beyond the things that are being weaponized to divide us. Look beyond those primal, look beyond LGBTQ, and look beyond transhuman, look beyond abortion, look beyond, you know, these, where are they coming from in terms of their humanity? And that, rather than a popularity contest, and that is a very different way of thinking for a lot of people, and I catch heat sometimes for saying that. But if we don't say it now, Andre, we'll never be able to say it. Because within these next few years, either through executive orders or through corporations that are running a lot of what we do and what we eat and how we live, we are going to be pushed into the space where we are being invited or compelled to give our humanness away. And I know it's happening, and I'm still impressed at how sexy the marketing is when I see the marketing and how they appeal to the young people with the images, you know, the videos and things like that. Young people that have never been taught to respect themselves and their bodies and how precious they really are, who wouldn't go for it? Who wouldn't want a computer chip in the brain that allows you to do your gaming without a wire hooked up to your computer, man? Who doesn't want that? So I think our work is cut out for us. And it sounds complex, and for some people it sounds scary, but I think it's very simple. And what it is we make it a point to inform our young people of how special they are, how precious their lives are, to be very aware of what they put into their bodies and what they put onto their bodies, and to help them to understand that their uniqueness is cherished and wanted and needed in the world and can only happen through their natural abilities, not the uniformity of computer chips and AI.
When he's playing the game, he's playing it in the conscious mind, in the sense that he has a vision. I'm going to hit this ball and it's going to go into that hole over there. Very important, because there's a destination and there's a means to that destination. It turns out, and this is really most important, is if you focus on the destination and not on the means, let the system, which is so powerful, See, it will get there without you telling it how to get there. But when you start to interfere and say, okay, now I got to make sure I swing it right, my head's level, my grip is right, and all of a sudden you're putting all these details in. It's like, no, don't focus on the details. You forgot what the end was. The end was the ball is supposed to go over there. And so that starts to come in, because now you're trying to control everything with with this manual control. And it's like, no, you don't have to have the manual control. Matter of fact, that gets in the way. Yeah. The body knows what you want. You don't have to tell it how to get there. That's a big issue in our lives, because I want to be successful. How? Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I say, oh, you're planning all these things, and your conscious mind is not even the subconscious is 1,000,000 times more powerful a computer than the conscious mind. So I say, you're going to take this little small conscious mind and try to run the bigger computer. It's like, that doesn't work. Let go of the control. And this is the whole thing. I mean, it's I just came to my mind. A lot of people say, let go, let God, or something like that. There's some phrase that people always say. And I go, well, that's actually the way to do it. Focus on what you want, but don't try and tell the universe how it's going to happen. Don't tell them that I'm going to do this and this is going to happen. I go, no, you just focus on what you want. The intelligence of this supercomputer, the subconscious supercomputer, it won't handle it unless you put your hands into the machine. I said, keep your hands on the machine. Focus on where that ball's going to go. I mean, he already practiced. Remember, I said, we did the habit. We did the practice. Whether you're driving a car or hitting the golf ball. Practice.
Yeah, so it starts off in conscious and then becomes subconscious. I think people can all resonate with that, whether it's a sport or
100%.
musical instrument, right? Same kind of thing. So again, it's not that hard to believe that if you practice the patterns that you want, after a while, they're going to happen automatically.
This is exactly what it's all about. You don't think about the details of driving when you're driving. They just automatically, you could have conversation, you could be off in thought, and you're still driving the car.
So what's an example of, we mentioned the first method is hypnosis.
Then the second one is habituation.
The second one is habituation and repetition and practice.
Yes.
So do you have any examples of things that people can practice, can do and go, right, I'm going to practice this so that I start to change my subconscious behaviors?
Well, this is exactly true. What's interesting is actors that are really good have a character. They read the character, they learn the lines, but they have to act like a character, okay? It's not just reading the words. You get someone like Renee Zellweger, and she did the diary or something. I forgot. Yeah, and it's interesting because the character is 40 pounds heavier than Renee, and when she got into character, guess what? She gained 40 pounds. Her conscious, the program just, okay, I'm 40 pounds. When she got finished playing the character, then the 40 pounds disappeared. As long as she was in the character, she became the character. Dustin Hoffman, one of the great actors, was playing Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, a very depressive character. And he was brilliant at it, except that he had to check out and go out of the theater and go into a hospital, a neurological hospital, because he became so depressed because he took on the character of this person. And what I'm trying to say is, who you think you are is what you could get there. But now the problem is, who do you think you are? And I go, well, that's part of the programming when we grow up.
Because really, you stopped thinking the thought that a relationship is a prison. That's what it really goes back to. You began to understand that you weren't born with that thought. You acquired it, and anything you acquire, you can release. So you worked out, I've been seeing this with the filter of a 6-year-old. A 6-year-old filter says, a relationship is like prison, especially for a man. But then you realized you weren't 6, and there's lots of other evidence that says that's not true, and you changed your thought. You see, when you question a belief, you don't believe it. That's why in religion you may not question the priest or the abbot or the imam. It's not allowed to do that, because we understand when you question a belief, you begin to doubt it. That's why people who are deeply religious never question it. I know God exists. How do you know? I just know. When you question a belief, like when you see your children, my little girl saying, Mummy, but how does Father Christmas get down there? How does the reindeer get down the chimney? They're that big and the chimney's that big. And how can you get all around the world in one night? And they're beginning to doubt, which is a great thing. So if you question a belief, you introduce doubt. And that's what a great therapist does. It says, really? Are you always a failure? Were you really meant to be an accountant to please your dad? Is that why you're here on the planet? Do you really think that everything you touch fails? Do you really believe there's no one in the world that can love you? So when you start getting people to question beliefs, you open up a little glimmer of, oh, right, yeah, that doesn't have to be true, and it doesn't have to be true for me, and that's why it's important, which you did so eloquently. You looked at the belief of a 6-year-old and thought, but that's not me. One of the things I talk about in the book a lot is having clients say, that's not me because... And they have to justify why that isn't them. Oh, that kid that wore secondhand clothes and mum was never there. That isn't me. I've got a wardrobe full of clothes. I don't have to do that anymore. But, you know, we play the only part we've ever known. And then we make that part our own. And we don't even know that there's many other parts we could take on if we wanted to.
Even those beliefs, that imprisonment belief that I had, that relationships were prison, I felt it, the power of that belief deteriorate over time.
Good.
But I still believe that it's there somewhere. And that kind of makes me wonder if those very sort of deeply held childhood beliefs ever really completely vanish, or if they are still capable of being triggered. So for example, if I was in a relationship now and my girlfriend started, say, shouting at me in the same way my dad shouted at my mum, I could very well see myself just getting up and leaving. Not shouting back, just getting up and leaving, trying to like flee the jail. And I just wonder with these, you know, even with the clients that you have and the patients you see, whether they really ever fully overcome.
I think a lot of them do. I think it's a work in progress. It's about, you looked at that little boy who said relationships are prison, and you realize that was a statement that for you was a statement of truth. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. And then what you have to do is start making a different statement. The mind learns by repetition. Relationships are wonderful. People say to me, marriage is such hard work. I'm like, well, I don't think so. I found it hard being single. I got the flu. I got to get out of bed, go to the pharmacist myself, make myself some soup. In a marriage, in a relationship, someone else says, hey, I'll get that. I'll do that. Let me do that. So you question the belief that you have, but then you have to also change it, and you have to keep repeating the changes. You know, I worked with somebody once who said, I have no coping skills. My mother was hypersensitive to light and noise. I couldn't open a packet of potato chips without her going mental. We never went to the cinema or the swimming pool or the beach. She didn't like light. She didn't like noise. She didn't like people. And then she said, and I have no coping skills. And I made her say, I want you to say I have phenomenal coping skills. And so she had to say that every day. She didn't believe it, but she said, you know, it's amazing. I say that every day, and I've become this person who feels she can cope with anything. So you have to look at your question, your statement, and just change it. I don't matter. I matter. I'm insignificant. I'm significant. I'm not lovable. I am lovable. I'm not enough. I've always been enough. And if every person in the world could wake up and just say, I matter, I'm significant, I'm enough, and I'm lovable, that would change. I know that to be true because I've got many anti-bullying programs in schools, all of them. They all say the same thing. All the kids say that every day I'm enough. They've made a little plaque for their desk. And bullying has almost disappeared in this school just from those simple statements, because bullies don't feel enough. It isn't enough to work with a bullied child. You must work with a kid who's doing the bullying. What's going on with them? Nobody says, oh, my life is so great, so wonderful. Who can I bully today? I'm having a great time. I think I'll go off and troll somebody. So we know that the not enoughness is the core of so many of our beliefs. But since the mind doesn't know or care what you're saying, if you switch I'm not enough to I am enough, the shift isn't subtle, it's profound.
If I made you Prime Minister or President of the world, you know, if there was one significant change you could make to lead us more towards that better future of enlightenment?
I would say an education that does not sacrifice self-awareness. We have information overload right now. I don't need information overload. I can Google it or now go to ChatGPT or something like that. What I need to know is, who am I?
How do you feel about ChatGPT?
PT. It's good. I think it's very good. And I think it's unavoidable also. I actually went to a demonstration recently by Microsoft on something that's coming soon. It's called Prometheus. It's way beyond ChatGPT.
Interesting.
It'll put most of us physicians out of business because it makes the best diagnosis, gives the best information.
What happens then in terms of your purpose and your meaning?
Well, we have more time for creativity. Fundamental creativity to create joy in the world. I think the essential message is, if you're not joyful, you wasted your life. I see entrepreneurs all the time, young guys coming up to me with amazing ideas, but they're talking about exit strategy before they've started the business. It's like, dividing the loot before there's a train to rob. But they're already talking, and we're living in a hustle culture. I have 5 exits. You keep exiting, and you're still hustling, and you're dying. And that's the final exit. You're still a hustler. So I say, make joy and self-understanding, self-awareness, the fundamental purpose of existence, and everything else will follow.
Where's your joy? Where do you derive it from?
The fact that I exist and I'm aware of existence, that's a perpetual surprise to me. I was looking at emotions, and what's the healthiest emotion you can have? It's not love, it's not compassion, it's not even joy. It's awe. It's wonder. Why do we exist? And why do we have the awareness that we exist? If you're perpetually surprised and full of wonder and joy, you return to innocence. And what we've lost to this world today is the loss of innocence.
How do I get my innocence back?
Are you married?
I'm in love.
Okay, well, when you have a child, you'll see it. You'll see it. A child is spontaneous, is in the moment, is joyful unless it's wet or hungry, but that's a different situation. But it's joyful. It is looking. The other day I was in a train, from Orlando Airport to baggage claim. Everybody was stressed in the train, wearing masks, panicked, a mother on the phone and full of anxiety, and she had a little baby in the crib, and this baby was looking around in total amazement. Finally, it caught my eyes, and it gave the most amazing smile, and the whole room lighted up just looking at that innocence. We have lost our innocence, and we take it away from our children. So, when children love laughter, they love stories, they love surprises, they love to play peekaboo. When's the last time you were surprised?
I can't recall being surprised.
So,
Not
when
in a good way, anyway.
when I feel I want some joy, I just look at children playing.
Is there a way to bring that joy back into our lives as a practice? That innocence?
Yeah, play. Play. Not drama.
As
Play.
adults, play is seen as a waste of time.
No, play is when you find creativity and joy. I'm not talking about drama, I'm talking about play. Play for the sake of play. Now even sports has become competitive. But when you played because you were playing, when a musician is playing, they're not thinking of the end. When you're singing a song, you're not thinking of the ending of the song. You're in the song. When you become the song, when you become that which you're playing, when the music and the musician become one, when the knower and the known become one, when the observer and the observer become one, when the lover and the beloved become one, That's transcendence. That's joy. That's play.
No technology is harmful. It is just that when human mind is in a certain level of destructive mode, every technology is harmful. Everything. You can take your laptop and slit somebody's head. Does it mean to say computers are dangerous? Suppose a few incidents happen like this. In many offices it happened, let's say in 10 different offices, it so happened somebody took Apple Air and slipped somebody's head. Does it mean to say laptops are dangerous? No, human beings are stupid. Whatever comes their way, they know how to turn it against themselves. When they've turned their own brains against themselves, what else do you want? Now there are technology de-addiction centers. You know this? Like there are drug de-addiction, alcohol de-addiction. Now technology de-addiction centers, simply because we are in a compulsive mode. If we start eating, we don't know when to stop eating. That's a problem, big problem, quite a big problem. If we start drinking, we don't know when to stop drinking. If we start shopping, we don't know when to stop shopping. If we start using the phone, we don't know when to stop using the phone. So the problem is not of technology, the problem is of compulsiveness. When we say compulsiveness, it's just absence of consciousness, isn't it? If we were conscious human beings, we would use everything for our well-being and everybody's well-being. Because we're compulsive, we start doing something, we don't know how to stop. Endlessly we will do the same silly thing. So whether it's virtual reality or artificial intelligence or anything, the problem is not of technology, never. Because they are just devices created by us. We are supposed to use it for our well-being. That's idea, isn't it? But see, most of the cutting-edge technology always goes into military usage in the world. Obviously, we don't know how to use it for our well-being, we are always using it to destroy something. This has been the thing always, not just now, because we've never worked on human consciousness. If human beings lived consciously, if the leadership in the world was a conscious leadership, the question of using technology against human well-being or the well-being of anything wouldn't arise, isn't it? Technology means enhancement of our capability, isn't it?
You know, one of the things that I like to teach people when there's a problem, and we all have problems, not all of us can deal with the world and war, but we can deal with our own problems. When a problem comes up, one of the best things to say is, all is well, everything is working out for my highest good, and out of this situation, this so-called problem, only good will come, and I am safe. And you know, this is something that's very powerful. All is well, everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this experience, only good will come, and I am safe. And what that does, it quiets your mind down, or my mind down, long enough for the universe to find a solution for the so-called problem.
But what about the person watching right now who is saying, Louise, hey, I love you, and I'm glad to hear you say that, but Louise, with all due respect, right now in my life, you don't know. All is not well.
Okay.
Everything is not working out for my good. I do not feel safe right now. No matter how many times I say that, all is not my life right now.
If you say it enough times, it will become so. It really will, because you will be changing your thinking. Mm-hmm. If I have a real problem, I will babble that incessantly for innumerable times. Mm-hmm. Because I know it will change the atmosphere around me, it'll change what I'm giving out. And yes, it's true that to start with, that may be a terrible problem and you can't do anything about it right now. But as you start to know that you are safe and you're in a universe that loves you, I mean, how many times a day do people say, this loves me, really loves me? And I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative of life. And if you're a person that does that a lot, your life has to get better. It has to. Life will find little miraculous ways to bring good into your life. It's an honor to be here.
It's funny, my producer Neil and I were just comparing notes before we walked on the set. You know, we list to our upcoming guest star, and I don't know that I have received as much communique as I have about any upcoming guest as I have received about the fact that Louise Hay is coming on. I think part of it has to do with the fact that you don't do a lot of this. People don't get a chance to really see you in interview settings.
That's true.
Like
I'm retired. I'm 81
Yeah.
and having fun. Lots of fun.
One, you don't look 81, and two, I know better than that. You are really not retired. You still work awfully hard.
Decided this is going to be the best decade of my entire life so far.
Yeah. What makes you say that this is going to be the best decade?
Because it is.
Yeah.
I just feel it.
Yeah.
Life has wonderful things in store for me.
Yeah. How is it that you live a life, and this question may sound a little strange, but a lot of folk don't have this experience where they live a life where they can declare that the decade in front of them will be better than their biggest hits.
We can all do that. We just have to make a choice. We have to decide what it's going to be.
Yeah. Why so few conversations like this for you? You mentioned earlier you're retired, but you don't do a lot of this. Why make yourself not more accessible?
I just do what life brings to me at the moment.
Yeah.
I know life has a lot of things in store for me in the future and will bring to me, like my movie and like, being here.
Yeah.
Life brings it to me.
It brings it to you. Yeah.